couple of weeks ago, I released a video of Dana White talking at a press conference. And he was saying, you know what? I am focused on doing UFC Africa. That was the second video I had done on that issue. Then in this video, he revealed the country that he's thinking of. In the previous video, I whittled it down to 3 countries. Oh, they're either going to go to Nigeria, Ghana, or South Africa. And in case you missed the video, I'm going to play it for you now.
Let's do what?
Do all 50 states.
Do all 50 states? No, I never thought of that, but I'm like so focused on Africa right now. I want to do Africa so bad. That's sort of my focus. Plus, it's pretty badass.
Couple questions for you, Dana. First, the UFC Africa that you just talked about, where in that continent do you see this happening, given that the lack of large indoor arenas?
No, it's
anywhere?
a great question. It's a great question. But Nigeria is what we're thinking.
Building something, or perhaps an outdoor venue?
Yeah,
like at a soccer stadium.
Yeah, both. I don't know which one yet, but yeah. Listen, at the end of the day, we're pretty crafty. We'll figure it out.
Okay.
Dana back here.
Yeah.
Let me take you back to UFC Africa. I'm from Nigeria. There are no facilities that would be able to house the UFC. Have you considered a Rwanda, for example? They have a Kigali arena. The NBA has played there with their Basketball Without Borders multiple times. Just a thought.
Yeah. Thank you.
And Dana, just going back to UFC Africa, I'm curious, how big do you think that event could be? Is that somewhere you're going to have to kind of educate the people and introduce mixed martial arts to them?
It's not even about how big I think it will be. I don't know. I don't know what it's going to be like when we go over I just want to do it.
Is this because you see stuff like Rumble in the Jungle and it's like
100%.
as a promoter?
100%. And we have African champions, and I'm going to build a PI over there. So, yeah, it's just something that I personally want to do.
Do you have a time frame on it? Could it be as early as the first half of next year, for example?
I don't know. It's like, this gentleman over here just educated me on.
Yeah.
I don't know enough yet. What we'll do is we'll send a team over there, and they'll go kick around the country for a little bit and see what we can do.
I don't want to say I told you so, but how did I know he was going to go to Nigeria? Anyways, so what was fascinating about that video is he revealed a couple of things. So, for example, I didn't expect him to say, Dana White, to say that he was thinking of building a performance institute. So what is a performance institute? So a performance institute is effectively like a training center. So it's where contracted UFC fighters can go to train. It's where they can get sort of like their therapies, physiotherapy, can go to the sauna, all that sort of stuff. There's a gym there for them to do sort of like strength and conditioning work. There's offices there for UFC fighters to have meetings with UFC officials. I'm sure they'll be able to do media, so the media days as well. Additionally, if Dana White is thinking about building a PI Performance Institute, I'm sure he's going to build an Apex as well. What is an Apex? So an Apex is a small arena that's dedicated to hosting UFC events. So in 2019, the UFC built the first Apex. It became a blessing in disguise in 2020 when the lockdowns happened, because when all the major arenas were shut to host events at the Apex in Las Vegas. So to me, it makes sense that the UFC will make a dedicated space they can use in case of an emergency, or it's just there to be used effectively, and they could even rent it out, another stream income. Also, in that clip, Dana White mentioned that in the coming new year that he's going to send like a team of people to Africa, most likely Nigeria, even though there's talk of other countries they might visit, but it makes sense for them to go to Nigeria. Why? Because I've done the video on this, but earlier this year, Kamaru Usman started an MMA organization in Nigeria. So, if Dana White is going to send a group of people to Nigeria, to me it makes sense that Dana White's people will meet with Kamaru Usman's people, who are based in Nigeria, and together, they'll be able to go to sporting governing bodies in Nigeria. They'll be able to go to various governors in Nigeria to work out a place for them to host a UFC event, and a place for them to build a performance institute, and a place for them to potentially build a UFC Apex. And for me, this shows great foresight from Kamaru Usman. Why? Because as soon as Kamaru Usman, Israel Adesanya, and Francis Ngannou became UFC champions, there was talk by everyone like, "Oh, Dana, we've got 3 African champions. When are you gonna have a UFC event in Africa to showcase the talent of these individuals?" And I guess from then, Kamaru Usman was thinking, I might need to get something started. And I'm sure, if there's a deal to be done in Nigeria, I'm sure Kamaru Usman is going to see... I'm sure Kamaru Usman is going to get some equity in that deal, especially if Dana White's people, UFC, are working with Kamaru Usman's people. He's going to get some equity in that deal for sure. And again, that's great foresight on Kamaru Usman's part. What am I going to do once my career in the UFC is done?